a lot of first timers here. So welcome. Thank you for being part of the Combined Fun and Drive program. We promise we're fun and we're excited to work with you. So one of the things we encourage you to do first and foremost is to meet with your agency team. Oh, sorry, pause. We will be recording this. There are some folks that had asked for the recording, said since they could not make it. So we will be recording this. Feel free to keep your camera off if you don't feel comfortable with that. Okay. Um, so we encourage you to meet with your agency team or even just identify who they are. If you're unsure of who your campaign leader is, just reach out to us and we can send you their email. There's a possibility I might have scared them off in our June training and you might have or need a new one. So I don't know, things happen, but that's what we're here for. Next, I would suggest that you should invite some of your colleagues to join your team. In our last training, I talked a little bit about recruitment as one of your roles as a local coordinator. Um, Especially if you have a large agency like DSHS and you have a whole building to yourself as just this local coordinator, the single one, you might want to ask a few of your fellow colleagues to join you, come to a few meetings, see if they like it, Um, we tend to be the fun folks, or lots of people associate us with fundraisers and food and exciting little parties, but it's all for a good cause and to better our community. And it's always a nice little break away from the daily work. And then third, once you have all your people, we suggest that you maybe schedule a kickoff meeting to just kind of get all your ducks in a row and figure out what you're going to do. And one of those things that you can figure out is what is your agency-wide goal. And so you want to start small and just figure out one single goal. And I think that that would make the campaign a lot easier for you and figuring out how to navigate that. So an example of things that you could think of is this year we want to really increase donations. We saw that we had a dip in our numbers last year and we really want to push those donations further this year. Or maybe we want to focus on volunteer hours, increasing agency participation. Um, Maybe it is just to host one solid fundraiser. Any goals that you want to have, I think this first kickoff meeting would be a great place to create those goals and set you up. And then to run a successful campaign, we encourage you to connect with these three main groups. So, of course, your teammates, your volunteers for your agency, agency leadership, and then the agency employees. Of these three groups, you might want to, as a team, figure out how you're going to tackle that communication. What plans are you going to do? Maybe your campaign leader is really going to focus on targeting the agency leadership, while you, as a local coordinator, you're going to focus on the employees. You might go cubicle to cubicle and talk to folks about the CFD program. Or vice versa. You might be really good at pitching a program and you want to be that point person for the agency leadership, and you're going to take the head on that. Whatever you figure out for your agency works well. Next, we encourage you to get our events on your calendar. I'm going to go in depth on some of the events that we host in the next few slides, but especially if you are new to the CFD or you're looking at your workload for this upcoming campaign and thinking, I don't have a lot of capacity to even run one fundraiser. We always say that supporting and promoting these events that we host ourselves are an easy way for you as a coordinator to still make an impact without having to do all the work and having everything on your shoulders. We understand that every agency is different. Some have legacy CFD events every year, like the Bite of LNI or the annual golf tournaments that have been going on way longer than I've even been here. We would say, yeah, keep doing those. However, we understand that the current job climate and is up and down. It's a roller coaster. So I know that there might have been some turnover as well. So even though your agency has worked with CFD and worked it into the work culture, maybe this year's not the year where you're going to keep pushing those big events and we might scale it down. That's where we come in and we say, okay, at the state level, here are things that we push in August, September, October, November, December, and so on and so forth. So with that being said, we have April, May time. Well Fed, Well Read happens. Statewide award recognition event happens within the April-May timeframe. It always depends on the Secretary of State and his schedule because we really would like him to be there to recognize you folks in person. And so during that whole during session, it's hard to kind of pin down a time for him. So it really depends on his schedule, but around that time frame. In June and July, we have our campaign leader training. That's when the campaign leaders might have reached out to you and approached you and asked you to be part of the team, hopefully, if they used our plan. Then we had a Tacoma Rainiers promotion, talk a little bit about that later. We had our Seahawks ticket auction, part 1. And then August, we're here. It's local coordinator training. This is when we encourage you after these trainings to just meet with your teams. We have a Rainiers promo in a couple of days. So, I mean, if you're coming out of this meeting, you're ready to push something, you can push that Tacoma Rainiers promotion. In September, we have our leadership breakfast on the 11th. That's where we just really get folks excited. It's kind of like our signature kickoff event where we hit the we encourage campaign leaders and executives to be there, and we really just talk about our program, invite some charities to speak with us, and it's just a really great morning for folks to just be with each other and celebrate the CFD. This is when we would suggest you start promoting our First Week to Give kickoff event, and then we have a Rainiers promotion again. October is really the start of our campaign, so we say it runs from October through December, or to the first week of December. And then the first week of October, we have our First Week to Give event. And then we have our Part 2 Seahawks ticket auction. November, this is not so much an event, but more just a day, a celebration that you might want to take advantage of, is Giving Tuesday. So that's the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. We have our Veterans Day egrams in the first week and a half of November. And then usually we have a CFD annual fundraiser that runs in November, and we are still planning that out now. And then December, we encourage everyone to kind of wrap up your campaign fundraisers. The deadline is on the 5th. And then keep some volunteers in mind for the nominations in the upcoming 2026 year. Okay, so let's break down these main fundraising events that I was talking about and give you some examples on how you can promote them. So Well Fed, Well Read. Every year we partner with the South Sound Reading Foundation and the Thurston County Food Bank for a food and children's book drive. Folks can either gather all their food and books at their agencies and then deliver that on the drop-off day, on our selected drop-off day. Or they can sign up for pickup, where our team goes to the agency, picks up all your stuff, and then brings it to the drop-off site, maybe like the day before. And then third option to participate is to just donate monetarily through our payment link. Some ways that you can promote it: I create a flyer every year for Well Fed, Well Read. This was this past year's flyer. And then Erin, she sends out beautiful emails every other week. She sends out a nice email, and that gives all information about Well Fed, Well Read. We'll have the links, the credit card links, a link to our webpage, all that information. Something you can do is start an internal competition. Something that we did at the Secretary of State's office is we did a divisional competition and encouraged divisions to compete against one another for an ice cream social, which was really fun because you're doing an internal competition, but then you can use all of that stuff to represent Secretary of State for that statewide competition for the for Well Fed, Well Read. And then we can give you these stats. I will also be posting this slide onto the volunteer resource page, but these are just some stats from this past year. we did really well. I think this is the best we've done since our team started. Um, and then we celebrate the top participating agencies, the agencies that gave the most books, the agencies that gave the most, or the agency that gave the most food. And then our this third one, Washington State Patrol, won our WOW Award, which is you don't necessarily have to give the most of anything, but it really is the agency that really wowed us as a team to say, wow, they really put in the effort. Or last year they gave nothing at all, and this year they gave 1,000 books. You know, an agency that you could really tell put in the effort and made a difference. Okay, do we have any questions about Well Fed, Well Read? I'm trying to see the chat and I see nothing, so I'm gonna keep going. Okay, our Tacoma Rainiers promotion. So this one, we've partnered with them for a couple of years now too. So you would buy a promotional ticket, and that ticket would receive a ballpark meal and a reserved seat. A portion of that ticket would go to the CFD program. And we don't have to put a lot of effort on our CFD state CFD's end. You know, we have a site where you can go and click on it and buy your tickets itself, and we just kind of post social media, we post emails, but it's not something that we're particularly like hosting ourselves. It's just I like to think of it as our like bonus event and bonus promotion. So when these are happening, you can share our flyer that we have, as well as repost our emails. I'll always say like repost our emails because that is the place where we have all of the contacts for our volunteers. And we don't have all your employees, of course. So you can take those emails and kind of just forward it to all your employees and get more eyes on the email. But most of the time, we have almost all that information for the upcoming event there. And then check out the event page. I'll show you where you can find this on the site during our online portion, but the Tacoma Rainiers themselves created an event page for us where you can buy the tickets. And this is something new this year. Before, folks would have to call Chris Oberton, the person who works with us on this promotion, and say like, hey, I want 4 tickets. But now you can just go in, did everything's online, faster, speedier checkout process, all of that is going to be there online. All right. The next thing we talked about was the Seattle Seahawks auction. So this auction is held in 2 parts. We have part 1 that just went out and is done with. It held 2 pairs of tickets that include 1 preseason and 4 regular season tickets. And then we have an upcoming part 2 of the auction, which showcases 5 pairs of regular season tickets and a season ticket. I want to say it's a blanket. It's a season ticket holder blanket. And every year people go crazy for this. We had a really successful part 1. And so if you know folks that are huge Seahawks fans and you're like, all right, I'm going to push this out, this is a great one to get out there for folks. We typically post on social media. I am the lead of our social media programs, and so we'll post about when it closes, when it opens, and then again, emails is a great way to forward in all the information. I see a thing. Oh yes, I will definitely give those links to you, Heidi. Next, every year, I believe our eGram promotion started in 2021 when we were navigating a hybrid model of work. We've kept 2 eGrams going on the state CFD level, and that would be our Veterans Day eGrams and our Valentine's Day eGrams. They've just been the most successful, and so we've just kept those every year. This one is held the first week of November, I did mention, and this just gives folks an opportunity. You make $2 through your payroll deduction, and you can send out an eGram to your loved ones during this time. Again, I make a social media post about it, and as well as Erin sends out an email. Are there any questions about that? No. And then you can also feel free to just unmute and interrupt me. Our first week to give promotion. So this is a really big one. This is our kickoff of fundraiser. I consider like the leadership breakfast like that event, and then this one is our big first fundraiser. So how it works from September 29th through October 6th, any state or higher education employee or retiree who does the one of the following during this time frame is eligible. So if you start a $5 or more payroll donation, if you increase a current payroll donation by $5 or more, or if you log 1 hour of volunteer time with an active CFD charity. This one is folks kind of like, well, what if I volunteered an hour 2 months ago? Can that count? We typically say to stay within that week. So try to volunteer your time during that week and then log your hours during that week, because that's when we're going to capture and report who did it or not. Things that you can do is share our flyer again, repost our emails. You can even share our stats. So this is the stats from 2024. We raised over $58,000. We logged over 2,360 volunteer hours and then distributed 1,587 cards. Did I say it? No, I don't think I said it. It's a $5 Starbucks gift card is the incentive for folks. And this event is sponsored by WSECU. They pay for those Starbucks tickets every year, and it's kind of like if you give $5, you get $5. But a lot of the time, people give way more than just $5. And then this event would be a great one for you to present to your CFD leadership. So what I like to do is last year I created like a slide deck for it. So you say you wanted to show your leadership and really get that support from them and say like, hey, there's this really cool event. Can you just push this one out to get people knowing what the CFD is about? There's a little incentive involved, so that might be easier to kind of have that buy-in. I presented this slide to one of the volunteers who had asked. She was like, I need some resources to talk to my executive sponsors about. And so this is an example. It gives you what our mission is, a little bit, some facts, what you can do as a donor, the benefits as a donor, and then a little bit about the first week to give itself and what are the requirements, what are some facts about it. And then I attach a timeline of what's going on for the program overall, and then a contact page. And these are our other team members, Robert Lane and Renee Lewis. Okay, checking for questions. Nope, running good on time. Okay, so promotion and engagement. So every year our team comes up with a theme to supplement the campaign spirit, and this year we chose Spark Change, where we encourage folks to empower their favorite charities by giving through the combined fund drive. When coming up with this theme, our team really wants to focus on the impact that individuals make for a whole program. You know, just like one person, one spark in an agency can really inspire and brighten a whole organization. So here's some examples of how you can promote the theme and use some fun taglines and wordplay with electricity. So you could say something like illuminate the future with your generosity or amp up your impact, you know, just little key words and phrases that you could maybe think about using when talking about the upcoming campaign. And this is our mascot this year, Sparky. Okay, so if you want to do an employee highlight, maybe in your newsletter or post on your internal site, this is a good example of what you could do. You know, have an employee, their photo, and then what their title is, and then do a little blurb about what CFD charity they give to. Or you could do a charity spotlight where you give a CFD member charity a small blurb letting employees know who they are, what they do, and then hopefully inspire folks to give to them or maybe just have some screen time and see what they're all about. Okay. So when promoting your campaign, you might need some inspiration. Maybe you might need some graphics because you're not a big graphic design person. Honestly, me neither, but I do try my best, and we have some marketing materials for you folks to use. However, if you want to roll with your own agency-specific theme and plan, by all means do so. But on our site, you'll find things like a PDF poster of that Spark Change poster you just saw, flyers and social media templates. There are virtual contribution forms, a virtual charity guide, an annual report, as well as a spot where you can order some CFD swag. I will show you all where you can find this on our website. Okay, and another tip we like to give when you are promoting the campaign is to start local. You know, volunteers are allowed to work with local charities. However, as a team, we worked with the ethics board to figure out that when you're selecting charities for your campaign to highlight, you have to come together as a team and decide, all right, we're going to highlight these 3 charities. And I mean, you don't have to specifically say 3 charities. You can say, hey guys, go pick any of the 3,000, 3,500 active charities and give to them. You can give that. But a better option, and it's a little easier for your team, is to just focus in on 3 to 5 charities for the campaign itself. And it's a really good idea to just start local. Folks give more when they're thinking about giving to local charities and the people around them. And it really, we can see a difference in how people give when it comes to that. You can use the CFD search tool to figure out what charities are local, what charities are in Snohomish, or what charities are in Thurston County. And then it shows you a little bit here, but I can, like I said, during my online portion, I'll do a live walkthrough of that. Another engagement opportunity is tabling. You know, you might consider tabling an event. I think this is a great way to have some meaningful face-to-face conversations about our program. I think this is especially important in our post-COVID world. You know, we don't really get that same amount of opportunities like we did before. I remember in 2023, Erin and I did a spelling bee, and so we went out with Erin dressed as a bumblebee, and we went through a couple of our local agencies and went and handed out little slips and like candy and say like sign up for our spelling bee. And it was a really cool opportunity to like see folks and talk about the program. Some folks haven't heard of us in so long, or a couple of years at that point, and so just reinvigorating folks and saying like hey, and smiling and talking to people in person really does make an impact. And if you did need swag to kind of table with, this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that you can sign up for some materials. Another opportunity is if you hosted a CFD Lunch and Learn. I can show you on the site, there's a Speakers Bureau page that lists some charities by county who have reached out and expressed availability to speak. And especially at something like a Lunch and Learn where people love food. They love to be there when there's food involved, and then they can kind of listen to whoever's talking. This is a great opportunity to also like hang out with your employees during lunchtime. Another one is maybe you want to speak in an all-staff meeting. You're really extroverted. You'd love to speak in front of a crowd. This would be a great opportunity for that. Um, like I said, there are presentation slides that I can provide to you to help teach about the CFD. But if you have your own, feel free. Um, or, you know, you are not a big speaker, but you would like the CFD program to be talked about. Um, I'm not that person for you. Robert Lane, our program manager, he's kind of like our main point person. He loves to speak in front of a crowd. He's really awesome about it. And then we're just kind of his backups. But we would love to speak with you folks at a meeting or an event. And so we really encourage you to reach out and ask for that face-to-face with our team. And lastly, we encourage you to use our toolkit resources. It is on our volunteer resource page. And with that being said, I will not. Oh, it took me there. Sorry, I was trying to go to the next slide. Hold on. There you go. With that being said, I will take us into the online presentation. Are there any questions before I do that? Let me grab a quick sip of water. Okay. Let's get into it. So our main page is give.wa.gov. This is our home page. If you slide down, this gives you a breakdown of our annual campaign. So we have a campaign overview where we do some main like campaign leader training dates, local coordinator training. You can watch last year's leadership breakfast, and then if you missed this year's one, we will be posting like our live video. Hopefully, if we do get TVW to record again, they usually do every year. But this is a great way to kind of still feel like you were there. This is our impact numbers from 2024. You have a charity disbursement report. So this is where you'll find what all the charities received in 2024. Say you have a charity in mind, but you really want to say like, okay, they received $1,000 last year. Let's make sure that they received 2,000. Let's double the amount this year. Then we have our 2024 campaign report, and this really has a lot of numbers that you could implement in this campaign, especially when it comes to the planning phase. If this will load, so you'll have, let's go down. This is what we donated last year, how many donors. This is our team and what we do. So if you're like, oh, I have a question, but I'm really not sure who I should contact for that, this gives us a description of what our team does. Let me get to the numbers. So donors. So this will show you by agency what you donated, how many donors you had in that agency, the amount you raised, and then the participation percentage that you had for 2024. We also have a section for volunteers and volunteer hours tracked by the agency. So you can, if you're curious to see what your agency had and you didn't quite spot it right now, I encourage you to look through this report on your own time and kind of figure that out. And then here, this is a revolving carousel that kind of gets updated as we go, but this will show you our annual campaign, the Tacoma Rainiers promo that I was talking about. This is where you can find that link. So if you click on there, it'll take you to this page that I screenshot, and the folks can buy tickets. So just kind of click around and be like, I'm curious as to what's happening with the CFD right now. You can scroll down here and see what happens. And also maybe check out the last year's statewide award winners. Okay, next, the most important for you as volunteers is this volunteer resource page. This is where you'll find anything that I talked about during this training, last training, or the next training on next Thursday. So if you scroll down here and click on, let's go with training materials, go down to local coordinator documents, and this is where you'll find everything you need to know as a local coordinator, especially if you're just beginning. So this handbook is a guide of everything local coordinator. So what your responsibilities are, some pledge form, best practices for cash and checks, maybe like a workflow of fundraisings if you've never run a fundraiser in your life, how payroll contribution works, campaign calendar, stakeholders, so our campaign leaders, executive sponsors, and then you your local agency managers and supervisors. Some ethics. So if you're wondering, why can I do this on state time? This is some information on how and why you can do that. And then, yes, like Bonnie said, VSHS staff has separate forms. Gambling, tips and tricks, fundraiser ideas, so on and so forth. So take some time to kind of look through that. I will be posting this presentation after, but after this training, I like to just post it after so folks are like, try to come here first. This is the basics and roles presentation from last Tuesday. And then this one. So this is our local coordinator toolkit. This is kind of like a live page where I can still edit all the templates that are here. So I provided a fundraiser ideas thing or page where it shows some in-person events and examples of those and what they do. If you scroll down, some hybrid events, silent auctions, egrams, pet photo contests, and like I said, I kind of update this as I go. If people give me cool ideas that they're like, oh, I ran this fundraiser. Do you want to implement that on the fundraiser idea page? I go ahead and put that there. We have social media templates. So as the campaign picks up, I will be creating graphics as it goes. And so when we figure out what our big signature event will really be, I'll create a graphic for that for social media, and then you can go and take that graphic and use it on your own socials or your own emails, whatever you want. This will look a little different because I am the main person who created this, but you would click on the purple button, go into this program. So this is also Canva. I don't know if you folks have used it before. It's free. There is a paid, you get more fancier, pictures and graphics, but everyone can just sign in with an email and they can use these templates. And so I just kind of put an area where you can just delete, add your agency logo, and just take this graphic, click on share, download, and then you can download the graphic as PNG, anything you want, PDF print, whatnot, and send that off. And so I'm able to update this as I go. Here's an example. Say you have Joe Schmo at your agency, you can just kind of add their photo in there. If you're like, I have no clue how to use Canva, Layla, please help me. I can do a quick walkthrough for you, but on the home page of Canva, they have some good tutorials like for beginners. And it's pretty self-explanatory and pretty easy to use, user-friendly. Here's another example. So you want to push that Rainier's game and you want a quick graphic. Just pull this, send it off. Okay. And then last but not least, similar to the social media templates, I have a flyer template. Again, your purple button will say something different. I forget what it says now, but this is an example of our first week to give from last year templates. If you want to plug and chug your own employee in there, some CFD Rainier games. Last year we had our sweepstakes, and so this will just get updated over time throughout the campaign. And as always, if you do notice something like there's an event that's coming up and you haven't seen me update a certain flyer yet, you can always reach out to me at my email, and I'll put that in now, and I can there's a lot of places that I'm updating things, and sometimes I might not have updated us on flyers, but I updated on the social media template. I can always just throw that in there within seconds. Okay. Back to the resource page. So that, again, I went to volunteer resource page, went down, and I found all of those things under the training materials. If we go back to the volunteer main page, There are giving campaign materials where you'll find the 2025 campaign. So this is where you'll find the posters, the PDF, there's the email signature tag, there's digital contribution forms, an infographic, rack cards, and presentation slides. You can find our logos here, as well as certificates and letter templates. So if you want to, celebrate your volunteers and celebrate the folks that helped you with that one single event, we have a template for that. Oh, and then under this giving campaign materials as well, there's the order supplies. And so this is where you can find our fulfillment center where you can get some CFD swag. And then last but not least, there's that speakers bureau I was talking to you folks about, where by county, so say I'm in Douglas County, these are the charities that have reached out to us specifically and said like, hey, I can definitely speak, and this is the point person that you should reach out to. So if you're curious as to what charities have already kind of made that first step effort to reach out to us and might be easier to get for your lunch and learn or to get at your agency meeting, just kind of take a second to scroll through the people in your county. Or if not, if you don't want to do county and you want to go outward and say like, I want to hit someone in Yakima, I don't know, because it's going to be over a Teams meeting, so it's fine. I want to see who's willing to speak then. We have all those options. And I know I said last but not least, but there's also a fundraising event resource page because like we said, you don't have to push a fundraiser, but if that's something that you're really looking forward to as a coordinator, we do provide you some resources to get started. So a planning sheet, some financial checklists, do's and don'ts, event ideas, similar to the fundraiser event ideas that I had on the template toolkit. Is it gambling? Because there's sometimes some questions about that. And we'll get more into fundraising next Thursday. So please join us. And if you can't, like, no problem. I will be posting the slide deck on once we finish on Thursday. But there are just more information on that. Okay. And that being said, is there anything that you haven't seen yet that you would like me to show you, since we understand that our website is clunky sometimes, there's a lot of clicks. We are hoping within this next year. I was just told today in our one-on-one with Robert that I possibly can go to the most current site that they have on Drupal, and so I'm crossing my fingers, but we're working with this site so far. So if you're ever like, I have no clue where you put that, I don't mind taking a few seconds out of my day to go and maybe meet with you and click and click and click and show you. But this is our page. This is our site, all the resources there. If you don't have any other questions, my last little bit to you is to please follow us on social media at WA State CFD. We do main posts, but then sometimes I'll do stories or live videos of us and our team. And I'd like to say that it's more of the fun part of my job is to do social media and to interact with you folks on there. And so that's just another fun place to be connected with the CFD. And the end. So thank you again for being here. I will stay on with Erin for the next 5 minutes or so in case anyone's shy and doesn't want to ask their questions in front of everyone or in front of the recording. So we will stop that recording now and then just kind of hang out. But please, we will be sending out a survey. Please